It is 8 a.m. right on the dot. Let's get this party started. Call this meeting to order. It's a quick forum. First step up is public comments. Anybody? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes as written from last month's meeting? There's support. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Matt, you're up. Yep. All right.
Director today is showing all four contexts, and our updates for concept 3, so the just over 800 square foot model. So I'll hold them, but you can see our in-town lake and dune, forest and rural models up here. So again, we're just expanding construction sheets and propagating all of those markups. And now concept 3 is done. I have concept 4 well underway, but need to do a little more work before I can. These renderings, pretty as they look, don't take a long time. It's just all the construction documentation and updating all those features when I change something like a siding product or the roof. And so just getting those construction notes updated takes longer. So I'm getting close to being done with those, and I'll probably just plan to send those out to you again. Hopefully you all got the last email from me with the construction sheets for concepts 1 and 2. And I'll plan to send these out just as I did those. As we near the end of getting all those markups done, Nick and I are planning to sit down and do a final comb through of all the sheet sets. And just, as many sets of eyes on the sets as we can. It's just really helpful.
Mhm.
I've looked at it for a long time, and so first I don't notice. So that's kind of where we're at as far as new progress on the just documentation, physical deliverable side of things.
And behind those, all the sheet sets, you've got. Everything is built as well, right?
Yeah, so, yes, as the framework is there too, so as Nick works with an architect, out of Grand Rapids. We have a floor plan, option for concept 1.
We have another, yes, like an option kind of thing.
Yes, an architect that Nick works with kind of helped develop, and so things like that are easy to slip in once the framework is here and all of those construction docs are developed. And so those, I think most of you have seen them, but for anyone who hasn't, they include things like some simple casework drawings just to make pricing easier for contractors. The products called out generically, sections, typical wall section, foundation plan, floor plan, window, door tags, things like that.
Got a couple of questions about the porch concepts. Is that designed to be setting on top of a slab, or is it, more treated wood without a slab under it?
So right now, our porch designs are all slab on grade designs. So we have the concrete foundation poured around the perimeter of the house, and then talking to Scott Corbett, we're doing we're omitting our insulation, our exterior foundation insulation that we're using for the slab on grade, shallow cross protected footing at the porch element. And we're having an expansion joint in there, and then post the concrete pour for the foundation, a slab, 4 to 6 inch slab is poured at the porch elements.
So that porch is separate then
The
from the
porch is
rest of the
separate
foundation?
from
Okay.
the building, which I think we want, given it's not in the building footprint, so that things can. And the reason primarily that we're doing this is so that we can have, we can avoid a lot of framing costs
And this view is showing the full turned down foundation And so grade plane isn't necessarily shown here, is that correct?
The grade plane is shown.
Okay.
We're
Alright.
calling out a foot of
Okay.
exposed foundation. This line needs to be cleaned up, but
Gotcha.
Okay, so that bottom, where it looks like trim, that's actually foundation.
and this is one of those things, Ron, where the site design is so important. Like if the site is steep and drops off, we're looking at a different porch design. Maybe it's not slab on grade, it's board walls, with backfill and then a slab, or maybe it does become more cost effective to look at a framed porch solution.
Does that, lend itself to, making it screened in, screen porch if you wanted to?
For sure. This one would be very easy to screen and, for our concepts 1 through 3, I think we're definitely envisioning some of those approaches being screened. So we won't add screen. Especially in the woods, context. You know, naturally you're in an area with trees and bugs, and that would definitely be an advantageous.
Matt, have you looked at any estimating software systems that might help you with cost?
If not,
Product set here that break down all of the individual costs. They're used by the insurance industry primarily, but you can use it for new construction. They have all the factors. It makes it really easy to basically ask the system, what's the cost difference between a slab on this porch, or go all the way out with a foundation and then frame it, insulate it. And within a matter of minutes, you can get a number, like it might be really close. But you can do that by changing up the windows, siding.
sure.
Get numbers that are considered to be industry survey prices. So, if they do it by zip code.
Okay.
It's exact where I know some people there, if you want me to get in touch with them, they might be willing to give you like a free access to it. Just might be good publicity for them.
Sure. Yeah, I'm open to exploring that. If you wanna send me
It's a-
contact.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's really not that complicated. It's a lot by estimators all over the country.
Thank you,
Anything else?
Matt.
Yeah.
If there are no other questions
Thanks, Matt.
for Matt, I think that before teeing it up for Nick, I just want to mention there are many irons in the fire right now with this project. Nick will speak to one where it's super heated. It's malleable. We're working with it. It's something very tangible coming forward here. But I wanted to mention the number of people that are reaching out on this project is continuing. And for example, we're looking at a site up in Grand Haven as well, providing some concept ideas for site planning. As Matt had mentioned, site design is so important with this product type. Not only design characteristics move people to get them to understand it, but site designing. And in addition to the number of people that are reaching out and developers and individuals, there have been a handful and I'll call it out in particular, in Robinson Township. There are several landowners that have property in Robinson Township, and they've reached out and said, we want to do this product type, we want to build it. And, some are starting to sketch out ideas on this. They would like to do varying sizes. One in particular is like, I want to look at that 850 size concept. So we've been in touch with the township, and this is exactly what we're dealing with. Even through a PUD process in Robinson Township, the planner emailed and said, no deviation. We will not let you go below 1,080 square feet for miles. Which is just wild, right? That is this government restriction that is impeding our ability to get housing stock in the market. And so these people are reaching out to us and saying, how can you help us navigate this? I spoke with the township supervisor, like, we've got to have some conversations on this. They're open to it, but they're going through a master planning process. And right now they're navigating short-term rentals, but I was like, we need to get in front of you to talk about this, just because you have residents that are ready to build it. Some have the financing to do it. That's just one township in particular. So for us, it's all the more pressing to continue to get this product out there and to showcase it. And that kind of leads us to a live example right now where Nick's very active in the space. We're going to need some support of the Housing Commission coming up here soon.
Yeah. So we will be going forward the City of Holland Planning Commission on Tuesday at 4 p.m. For a study session to present a concept that we call Paw Paw Ridge, which is essentially at the corner of Waverly and East 8th Street, the south east corner of that intersection, very close to US 31 and Community Action House Food Club kind of area. This project is being developed by Doors of Hope. We've talked about this project a little bit in past meetings, but we did have a delay of about a month where we had been planning on going into study session in July. And we delayed, but the good news is we received the go-ahead from, Doors of Hope. We're able to kind of get the go-ahead from their board. They're a organization that really exists as a part of City on a Hill. And their board, I think, needed a little bit of time to fully discern and wrap their heads around the project. And they came out of that and wanted to restart the project. So we're doing study session next week. And then the goal is a public open house that we will organize and hold as a part of the PUD requirements for the city, probably in September. And then we have a little bit of time after that that we're saving for our civil engineering partner, Griesengut, to be able to do their site development, kind of engineering work that would happen to tee up the site plan that would then be a part of the PUD package. We give some time for that, but we're kind of targeting fall to, I'll say late fall, November, December timeframe at this point for going back in front of planning commission for actual approval. So we have time kind of baked in there after our public open house for reason. We also have time baked in there for feedback. We want to be serious about hearing people's feedback and hearing planning commission's feedback, and don't want to have a fully baked design that doesn't ever, it's sort of never touched or tweaked from here on out. The point of study session is to receive that feedback. So we're giving ourselves a little bit of time from kind of the start of the process through when we think we'd actually be in front of planning commission for them to on recommending it to city council. But we are back on track, and we've been in communication with city staff. And I believe I shared this in a previous meeting, but city staff has agreed with the PUD approach and has been helpful in just kind of getting the application put together. So to that end of the study session, which is coming out very soon here, I know Paul has given some thought to what the Department of Strategic Impact, what the role can be as we bring this to the planning commission and essentially to the city. I mean, this is gonna kind of be the first public outing outside of this context for a project. And even though it'll be going in front of planning commission, it's likely going to receive the attention of maybe council, maybe local press. So BSI being a partner in this project, obviously, and really being at the genesis of what we've been setting out to do with small footprint homes, has articulated in this letter kind of an overview of the small footprint home project, but also in the context of this Pawpaw Ridge project. So that people who are coming in cold, who may not be aware of the project, but they sit on planning commission, can understand that we're not just coming out of the woodwork or out of left field here with these smaller houses and with the parcel that we found, but in fact, we've established this partnership with Doors of Hope over time. This is a really good parcel for this. It's a really good candidate for this type of housing. And in fact, this project's been churning along for a year, trying to get the county ready for projects like this. And so this letter spells this out. Paul, I know you'll be out of town because you got more important things to take care of with,
25-year wedding anniversary trip.
so you've got an excused absence.
Thank you. My wife appreciates that.
But along with this letter, I think we really need to think about how do we present this project and maybe with some housing commissioners in the group. To kind of say, hey, we're the housing commission from Ottawa County. We're here in support of the project, but also we're here to answer questions or even just engage and help with awareness around this project. We should talk about that today. How do we want to do that? Is anybody interested in being there, or willing to maybe even make a public comment? Or, you know, somebody's gonna maybe have to read this letter or not. Maybe we just include it in the packet, but,
I got it on my schedule, right?
okay.
I'll plan on attending as well.
Yeah, I had no brain, so.
Okay.
I'll be there.
Yeah, that would be great. I think if all four of you guys were there, it'd make a huge impact.
Especially if Paul can't be there, I guess.
But we also have a meeting today internally, across the hall, with Matt and Rich and others, just to kind of think about what's our sequence of presenting.
Yeah.
We've got a packet that we've already turned in, but who's speaking first and how are we doing the handoffs and things like that. So, I guess, who would be maybe interested in making a public comment if that fit into the presentation? What's that? Chair?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. And then this letter, I think the intent here is for you guys to read and review this.
Yep, any feedback, let me know, and if that's acceptable to you, I will forward it on to city staff to have it shared with planning commission.
Yeah, we could speak anecdotally too, from what we've seen and what we've worked on for the past year. And a half,
Yeah.
2 years, so.
Yeah, I think it's really important for everybody to really realize, oh, this has been something that's been going on at the county level. And this project isn't purely a small footprint homes initiative. It's actually a Doors of Hope initiative, but it's the first kind of initiative that's picking up the small footprint home material and methodology and starting to try to deploy it. And so, even though we're going for a PUD and maybe there's some waivers in that PUD application that we need to step through, we want everybody to recognize that we're not just making this up out of thin air, but this is a real thing, real project, but also the city has an opportunity to kind of have the first early adopter for the project. And the city's got a nice cottage court already. So of the communities in the county, it actually has some experience with this. So that's helpful, and that's a successful project as well, but it's also been many years since that project. So to kind of bring that back now and say, we'd like to do kind of something similar, and here's how we'd like to do it, this will be an interesting learning experience for us.
Are you gonna add any survey data that we've received when we first started, gauging?
Yes, I
interest?
can pull out some points on that, but yes.
I think that would be helpful, to
Yeah,
that
good.
it's not just coming from the county, but it's coming from people who live in the county as well.
Good idea. I will share those. Yeah. And this Pawpaw Ridge, it's 7 of our
Yeah.
units, varying sizes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, it's not just one, we're gonna showcase it for what Matt and Nick have designed, which really showcases the product, and that's the big thing, people still don't quite get it. And I want, Ryan Kilpatrick and I, for example, have been talking with another developer that wants small footprint homes too, but he showed that to us. But his and we both hesitated, and, you know, I talked with Nick about this. Their site plan is just very industrial, straight roads, straight lines, no thought. That is not creating community. So, you know, that is so important for us. If we're gonna get behind a project, we want to create community. So the thoughtfulness and design is really important. And, you know, the people that are approaching us say they want to do this. Well, we're also not gonna necessarily get behind you if you're not thinking really well, because we need the public to understand that this is not just slapping an infill and giving people product. We want to create lasting, enduring communities like we have today.
Yeah.
So that's,
I think the last thing we would ever want to do is just unleash the idea of smaller houses that are sort of, maybe they were culturally the norm, but they've fallen out of being the norm, and just unleash them without any opinion as to how they're deployed, or any guidance as to how they're deployed, because of these site plans that people do come up with, which give the idea a bad name, and rightly so, because there is a way to do this bad. And actually, that can cause more harm than good in the long run if we make it harder on ourselves to be able to do these products, because we've had projects that didn't turn out to live up to all the promises that we've been talking about for a year.
I appreciate the spirit of that. It's hard to govern that though, if a developer has a lot of land and they have the approval, they can build it however they want. You know,
yes,
so that, again, I think it all stems back to zoning and planning. You've mentioned Robinson Township. We are, as a group, and we're gonna fall into that same conversation with almost every planning and zoning. This is the ordinance. We will not deviate.
Yep.
It has to come from external pressure from the residents, not just from the county.
yes.
Did
That's why,
Robinson Planner express why he was against it or his hesitations about it?
I think they just read the black and white.
They just look at this square footage and go, nope.
Yep, and and it's the planning commission that informs the contracted planner on what changes to make. So we need to get the planning commission and agree that we do not want this to be county coming down. So a collaborative partners, Doors of Hope is great. But how do we get some individuals and residents like we have in Robinson say that we want to do it? And then we talk to them like, okay, if you're going to bring this forward, let's be thoughtful on it, because we'll support you and go to the planning commission and explain to them, this is a concept that really blends into your.
Like it has to come from the residents, because, if the resident said, this is what I wanna do on my property, and here's where the concept comes in, that's where we can come in and support them in those conversations at those public meetings.
Yes,
But short of other people being on planning and zoning or applying to be on there, you know, being voted in, whatever it may be. It's, that probably knows just as much, if not more than I do, about when zoning and planning says, no. This is black and white, this is law, we will not deviate.
yes.
Are
And
there any state laws that are, imposing any of these standards, or is it strictly local zoning?
There could, depending on if there's water infrastructure or not, there could be setback deviations and with septic systems and the like, but other than that, no, there's recommendations coming out of the state. And part of, and I've been public with this, with the other tactics by some of the other entities that are trying to push local zoning changes. And I think I've said this to you guys, like, our approach is not to go to local unit of government and say zoning reform. You are not going to build relationships, and they're not going to get it. And that's why our approach is find real site, spend some time to design it, and then you bring it and say, hey, now if you guys like this, your residents here want to actually build this, they got the money to do it. Let them do it, but just make some zoning tweaks. It's a much better approach.
Recommended tweaks in zoning that, they might look at it like, well, now we're gonna have to get the attorney to write this up, and we're gonna have meetings
hand them this is a proposed zoning change that should comply with everything else you've got.
That is, yes, a receptive community. We can do that with zoning recommendations. We've done that before, even relative to groundwater stuff, when we look at density and setbacks and the like. The other approach too is the PUD would be easier for community. Robinson, they said, you know, even PUD, we won't give any exemptions.
Did you say
But-
condo in Robinson?
Surely not.
Yeah.
But
But with the PUD process for Holland, there were some, like you laid it out, some recommendations looking at their ordinance. Now, what it could be under the underlying zoning, what PUD could be, and how you kind of make some adjustments, so.
Yeah, there's a whole other layer too of. So. There may be black and white text that's being interpreted. But that doesn't mean that we as a project have gone in and also come back with the same interpretation. And sometimes there are valves within zoning ordinances that are. I don't want to say hidden, but they're not necessarily obvious, and they're not gonna rise to the first, thing that a staff planner is gonna wanna use or maybe even thinks about using. But, everybody's PUD language is probably gonna be a little bit different, but where are those discretionary valves that exist within the zoning ordinance? And so a lot of times they do relate to PUDs. They offer more discretion than folks wanna actually give themselves to use. And I don't think we would ever wanna, step into a situation where we're just kind of saying, well, thanks for your recommendation, staff, but we're gonna put this forward anyway. But that's also a legal thing you could do. You could go ahead and submit it, and staff would present it and say, this is being presented to you, the planning commission. We as professionals don't recommend it, but you have to vote on it, and sometimes that goes the way of, a developer friendly kind of vote too. So there's a couple of different aspects to that. And I think the other thing is, yeah, it's gotta come from the residents or the property owners within the municipality. However, it's not very often that residents within that setting have the county willing to show up at their side and kind of support an application or an idea specific to a project. And that's our opportunity, even though we can't maybe overhaul all the zoning or maybe insist on the big developers doing site design exactly how we want. We certainly could hold back how much support we want to give to a particular project based on the merits of the site design. We could hold back on it and sort of be silent on it, or we could be very forward about it and be there standing in the room with them and saying, we have all this context to share with you if you want to support it. And so that's a guidance and sort of an important presence that we want to have as these designs get out into the communities, at least for the first several projects. We can't do that forever. We can't babysit every project forever. Eventually, some of the site design principles that we believe are need to go hand in hand with the house designs. They need to become sort of picked up and others need to run with them. Maybe they need to be codified in little design guidelines or documents or something that we offer, but we can't just kind of manually be doing that forever. But for the first several projects, we should, so that we can have those principles embodied and it'll work.
Have a proven.
Yeah, we need those early adopters to really be.
Right, then others follow suit and they borrow from the language of the.
Yeah, and if we were to publish documents or guidelines or something, we can point to our own billboard and say, here's where you put your dumpster enclosure if you have these other things kind of going on, and here's why, and here's how that works. But we don't want to, it's hard to make a guideline or anything like that just contemplates every scenario. You gotta start to narrow things down.
Right.
too.
We just need a proven concept to work with. And go back to the planning zoning, not even just PUD or site condo or however you want to do it. It's and you said it yourself, it's the bare minimum of square footage. That's like full stop. If we can't have that get somewhat amended or changed or be a little bit more fluid on what's allowed on your own property, then we're dead in the water.
Yeah, when stop complaining about the housing problem.
Right.
Because you can fix it.
Right. And it's proven, we have the data to show us. So to me, it goes back to an education thing, for planning and zoning, where they're volunteers just like we are. A lot of them are, so they're not in it and spending the time to really dig deep. So if we can provide that education to them, say, hey, this is the need, here's a possible solution, here's where we need you guys to do your part. If you can find it in your hearts to do so.
Exactly.
Are they more receptive to smaller lot sizes, or is that also a big issue?
I think that's the issue.
That is one of the issues. So there are several communities in
So
the
it's not
county
just the
that
square
will.
footage of the building, it's the lot size as well.
So there are several communities in the county, whose ordinances will say, yeah, we'll let you have a 900 square foot house. But you need a 10,000 square foot house. Well, we gotta get over that too. It's disproportionately sized, so it's an education bit. Like, we can build a 900 square foot house on a 3,000 square foot lot, and it works. And that's what your communities look like. And so we just need education for folks.
And yeah, that's the biggest thing, because we've had decades of, this is how we're always doing it. And then we're coming in and saying, hey, how about we try it a different way so we can alleviate the problem of housing shortage. It's an entire mindset shift for folks.
Yep.
So it's taken how many decades to get here? It's not gonna just happen overnight, so. It's an education piece that we as a county can help educate. And have those harder conversations, but we don't have community buy-in on top of that. It's gonna always feel like it's top down,
Yes.
and that'll never get adopted. So
So this Pawpaw Ridge is such an incredible opportunity. Doors of Hope are great partners, and I'm grateful to hear housing commissioners willing to attend that meeting, and support the work. It goes a very, very long way. Cool.
that's the 12th, right? Tuesday the 12th.
Yes,
Correct.
4 p.m.
Yeah, and it's, I guess one other thing just to think about is it's, when you're on the planning commission, you really can't weigh as you weigh the merits of a project that's coming in as a PUD, one of the factors can't be that the county wants us to approve it. It just so happens that we've got this county project that's being utilized and is aligning with this actual project. But we want to give some thought to how do we present ourselves so that we're providing that context and that awareness, because that is really important for everybody to kind of understand. But also that we're presenting a PUD that's viable with or without the fact that we have this other project that's been going for a year and a half. So we kind of want to accomplish both, if that makes sense, because they don't really have any provisions for that. Just because somebody else in another area of government thinks it's a great idea, that can't really, there's no criteria for that.
Yeah, doesn't hold a lot of water.
Have we,
It doesn't, but on the other hand, it kind of should, at least from a context awareness standpoint.
It's a pipeline towards the approval, in my opinion. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, so we gotta get them downloaded on all of the different aspects of this, but we need to figure out how do we present that. And that's part of what makes the meeting later today.
have we progressed or done any more with trying to find out what the demand would be? I would think that it would be influential if we were to be able to say, if we conducted a survey and, we've got 1,000 residents of the county who would like to live in this kind of housing, and here are some profiles, and here are a couple of the outspoken advocates who would like to, move into these homes if they were available, to kind of demonstrate that, this isn't like a social experiment. This is, we're trying to come up with a solution to meet a demand that is substantial.
Yes, we haven't done a scientific survey, but as we started to kick off this project, We did the unscientific survey and had great response rate. And so that's what I can kind of maybe pull that together for Tuesday. And I think beyond that, right now, it's just more anecdotal, and we'll add that into the bullet points too. It is, how often do you get emails from people to the general mailbox about small footprints?
Oh, really?
Yes. It's,
And that comes
Surprising.
directly to you guys.
yep, they're like, hey, we want to do this.
'Cause
We want to build one of these.
I've had a couple agents reach out to me and say, hey, where are we at with this, process?
Yeah.
They have clients, just like I do that.
And they're all waiting for local zoning to change. So we're building this pressure of public desire. That is what our planning commissions need. If we can help shepherd that, that is a great role for us.
Well, it's important for us to be there to support that. But I think if you added like 10 local people who wanted those homes and they live in that community and they show up at the meeting to say, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Living in an apartment right now, I'm paying $1,600 a month and I've got 3 kids or 2 kids, but this house right here, this design would meet all of my needs. I could afford to buy it. I need you guys to help us make that happen. And you get enough of those people,
Powerful.
it is.
Yes, and based on our conversations right now, I feel that Robinson Township is teeing up to be one of those first communities, because granted, Holland's a little more flexible, right? They've done something like this before, at least we can get the product showcased, but working through zoning challenges, Robinson, and I think we can start to build. I've already got a handful of residents that want to do that, so we'll continue to collect them. And when we go to planning commission to talk to them through a work session sometime this fall, well, I think we should have those people.
Definitely. Do we have a mechanism for outreach to just the residents of Robinson Township?
Yeah, we've done various projects. We can do targeted messaging. Yeah, we can, something as a strategy to talk through more on that as that effort progresses.
I would encourage if we were to start doing that in a kind of targeted area like a township, to seek partnership with the township staff. Let them message their residents so that we're not sort of doing only stepping on their toes, but that's a great opportunity to kind of do some partnering, even if it's just on the nitty gritty stuff like that. Even if they don't agree with us on, how many small footprint homes we should be building.
Could they
can
agree to
at least-
add, just
Yeah.
to see?
You
do
think they
really
would want
have
that?
They can get behind messaging it, or at least the public outreach side. Because that behooves both groups to make sure that everybody got, adequate notice and opportunity to weigh in.
Okay, so if we're good on that point, we'll keep things moving. I do have a couple other points relative to the housing work, and we talked at the last meeting, kind of that 3-prong approach that we kind of envision on how we can support housing. It's smaller footprint, and then supporting our aging population and supporting housing for persons with disabilities, because that is a need through my conversation with CMH. So there's several things going on, had some good activity there. In terms of housing for the disabled population, I've been able to connect with a group called Home First. They're actually, when Chris was here at the last meeting, so there's a division of IFF that focuses on building housing for disabled population. Come to find out, they're actually looking at Kent County currently. I said, well, expand your reach a little bit. Let's look into Ottawa County. So I'm going to be having in mid-September, just the way schedules are working, I've coordinated with Dr. Brashears of CMH, his chief operating officer, and we're going to be getting together with Dina Bell, who's the executive director of Home First. We're going to be talking about housing opportunities for the disabled population. That IFF and Home First, they invest the money into doing that, but we can start talking about the demand and see what can materialize. So I like that. The other one then is Asian Place. Nick, through his connections, introduced me to an individual named Bruce Thompson, and Bruce is a good guy. And Bruce works in the Asian Place environment, and he is looking and been involved in creating housing that utilizes technology as well to support that Asian Place population. He's got a building partner, and they're looking at a project in Zealand to do Agent Place. And there is a component division of CMH called Senior Reach, and they provide supportive services for Agent Place. And so we are all going to be getting together to talk potential buildable project in Zealand that uses some interesting tech and the right home design for that population. Additionally, what Nick and I have been talking about is connecting with those partners, thought partners, and having them give a scan of the designs that Matt and Nick have worked on from an ADA compliance review and offer some suggestions and tweaks there. I think it'd be really valuable for us to not only have the set of open source plans, a small footprint available, but then have a version, right? That's like, these are ADA compliant as well, that can really work in a particular space. So I'm grateful for those things. Lastly, rehabbing of homes is something that we've talked about and offline as well. And I think this is especially pertinent because there have been recent discussions amongst the commissioners too about the Community Action Agency, right? And they secured grants from all over that help homeowners with winterization or short-term other needs and building rehab projects. There's an opportunity there that I think we could continue to explore, because one of the biggest demographic sectors, I mentioned this before, that's growing in the county is the 75-year older population. Good portion of them, right? I don't know the numbers, right? They live in existing homes. And there's often times in those scenarios where maybe they are cash strapped, or they're just old, they don't know who to connect. So their housing stock, right? It's wonderful, it's smaller footprint, it's been around a long time, but maybe it's deteriorating. And as that population goes through their transitions, looking at that existing housing stock, and how do we rehab? How do we support it? Because then you just open up a pipeline for the next generation of maybe first-time home buyers. We have good stuff. How do we ensure that we can get support there? So I think how we can leverage home rehab, grant funding, building volunteer base and look at rehabbing of those homes is an area that I see in the ecosystem that could need attention. And it's something I think that could be valuable for this Housing Commission and Strategic Impact to start thinking through, talking about the support of the grant funding that comes through from Community Action Agency and others, how that plays a part. Thoughts, reactions, any of that?
I think those are all pipelines.
Just to react a little bit to the Community Action Agency, there was a discussion among commissioners about the fact that the block grant funding that they depend on for their personnel is gone. And they're asking the county to fund that. I think it's $281,000. And there's some concern about whether or not the county wants to engage in sort of bailing out a grant-based program or not. And we're hopeful that the county will at least do it for a year and see how it goes. This grant might be restored, the federal grant might be restored, we don't know. But I hate to see that fall away. Because the grant isn't there and the county is hesitant to kind of back it up for at least a year to see what happens. That's a very current issue as we go through the budget cycle.
Is that in their entire funding or is that?
No, that's just the personnel part. Yeah, but without personnel, obviously, it's hard to carry out the mandate of the organization.
They leverage a lot of grant funding that helps with home rehab. I think that's just an important part of the ecosystem for us to get our our handle on how it works, what community action agency does, funding they bring in, if we lose that staff, how is that gonna impact this potential opportunity for us for support of shoring up some housing?
What meeting was that? Is that on Tuesday?
On Tuesday, yeah, it's kind of a budget work session, we call it.
I watched the first portion, but I didn't catch it.
It will be coming up probably next Tuesday in the finance committee, I'm thinking again. And then ultimately on, August 26th, the board will vote.
Mhm.
Yes or no.
I was confused by that, the invitation this morning. I don't know if you got that.
It was canceled then.
Yeah, it was,
Oh,
it was the same time as.
I just have a feeling the commissioner just added that she was canceled.
Oh,
That's
okay.
fine everywhere.
I thought it was, some of it was up at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
Getting us, invited.
But I know it, again, just following up on community action agency, for me, I'd also like to have a much better understanding of the grants coming in. Eligible entities for those, because I don't want to lose that. So if we lose community action agency temporarily or what have you, what are those impacts? I think we need to understand that. And if it requires some stopgap funding for a little while until we can study it, so we're not perpetually giving in annually to support them, but knowing full impacts of what that agency does is gonna be really important.
I thought it was a productive discussion. I thought it was positive. I think obviously if Jen's there.
She will be there
It'll be much
Tuesday.
more productive, much more positive, because I think we have questions. You know, what is the total budget?
Yeah.
You know, is this, how much of this is backfilling? How much of this is, you know? I think as commissioners, we have that information. We got this.
Is that 281K, is that just only tied to the housing rehab, or it's just personnel, or?
Personnel,
My understanding is it's personnel costs, because the other grants don't allow, them to be expended on personnel, in my understanding, but the block grant does. So that's how it's structured.
How much was the plot grant? No, if we had that information either.
I saw a graph, it's more than 280.
Right. And was it complete disappearance or was it partial disappearance?
It's like a hockey stick going south. I mean, I think it's part of the federal,
Sure.
review of grants.
Yeah, no, I saw Doug's email. I think he had a different perception of the meeting than I did, right? I thought it was positive.
Well, yeah, the fiscal services director and the interim administrator both support,
Right.
at least 1 year funding of this. There were just a lot of questions being asked.
Sure.
And then the county, I think typically when it has an entirely grant funded, situation, they don't guarantee that if the grants go away, that it's gonna be funded by general fund money.
Where do you draw the
So
line?
that's where the decision comes in.
Big.
Yep. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All good, okay. New business, election of vice president.
Yeah, we had this conversation of, do we have this on the agenda or not, but I don't know the timing of when we'll get another housing commissioner appointed.
Okay.
And just to keep momentum, like for us as staff, if you're not available, like who's next in line, I think it's just helpful to get a VP in.
Since I don't always respond right away.
Didn't? I get put on that?
That's what I thought too. Well, Holly. Yeah, we voted her in. When she wasn't here.
Yeah.
And
Yep, and then she never came
then
back.
she never came back.
Yeah.
It's like a kiss of death.
So I'm not sure, did we change that when we knew Holly
Was that 2
departed?
meetings?
I thought it was,
Yeah, I thought
Me,
I
but-
nominated Claire.
Yeah,
yeah, I think we joked about nominating Holly,
yeah.
when her not being here, but then
I
obviously.
think I thought it was you too, but
Alright, I'll defer to Pam. Got that. How quickly can you find
But I
it?
don't recall, I'm sure it's maybe in the minutes.
Can make a renomination.
yeah. it's
Yeah.
something wrong.
Well, renominate
Look-
Clinton for.
Yeah, I surely
Yeah.
can, so.
Okay,
I'll second that.
alright, then we're good. We just reaffirmed it.
Okay. It was a while ago, it was
it March?
Probably 3 meetings ago.
at least.
That's right, April.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a huge.
Yeah, it's hard lived.
I missed the vote, nominated.
And now, it-
Yeah.
Somebody's.
Sure.
Okay, and then it's roll call vote, so.
Yep.
Pat,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
Look at that,
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
efficient.
Yes.
Okay, last, option for public comment, anybody? Next meeting, September 4th, that is the week of Labor Day.
I would like to thank everyone for.
Yeah.
Make that doctor's appointment very helpful.
Yeah, it's important. Take care of yourself, Pat. We're all here for you.
Yeah, I already have it on my calendar, so. I'm-
Yeah, so do I.
Good. Yep. We'll plan on that.
Okay, meeting's adjourned.
Okay, thank you.
Everyone.
you guys on Tuesday.
Yeah, you bet.
Mhm.